My friend, if you're waking up at 2 a.m., then again at 3:30, and maybe one more time before sunrise, you're not alone. Millions of men over 60 are doing the exact same routine each night. You shuffle to the bathroom, half asleep, wondering why your body just won't let you rest. And for years, we've been told the same thing. It's just part of getting older. But what if I told you that's not the whole truth? What if your prostate isn't failing you? It's begging for relief. And the real enemy isn't time or age or even your genetics. It's the quiet, everyday choices you've been making before you go to bed. Tonight, we're not going to talk about miracle supplements or complicated procedures. We're going to uncover 5 seemingly harmless nighttime habits that may be putting enormous pressure on your prostate, silently aggravating inflammation, disrupting your sleep, and wearing down your energy day after day. And here's the thing. The last habit, the one I'll share at the end, is the most surprising of them all. It's the one nearly every man skips without even realizing it. And yet correcting just that one thing could unlock the kind of deep, uninterrupted sleep you haven't felt in years. So stay with me. Make yourself a cup of caffeine-free tea, get comfortable, and let's go on this journey together, not as doctor and patient, but as friends walking the same road, learning how to age with wisdom, calm, and comfort. Now, before we begin, I want to hear from you. Which of these 5 habits do you struggle with the most? Type the number in the comments, 1 through 5, even if it's just a guess. Your comment might help another man feel a little less alone. And if you find this helpful, if something here speaks to you, please tap the like button and subscribe to this channel, because the more of us who take this seriously, the more nights we all get to sleep soundly. Let's begin. Let me ask you something, my friend. Have you ever found yourself sitting up in the middle of the night, not because of a dream, not because of a sound, but because your bladder is calling out again? It's frustrating, isn't it? You drag yourself out of bed maybe 2, 3, even 4 times, and by morning you don't feel rested, you feel defeated. Now here's the twist. Most men think this is just what aging looks like. But what if I told you it might not be your age at all, but your glass of water? You see, hydration is important, no question about that. Every health book, every doctor, every wellness podcast tells us to drink more water. And they're right, mostly. But here's the part they forget to say. When you drink matters just as much as how much you drink, especially after 60. Let me tell you about George. He's a 71-year-old retired math teacher from Austin, Texas. George prided himself on staying healthy. Every evening, like clockwork, he'd sip on his big 24-ounce lemon water while reading the news. He thought he was detoxing his system, washing out the day's toxins before bed. But what George didn't realize was this. His kidneys were already slowing down for the night. His body was entering repair mode, and instead of giving it rest, he was flooding the system. That big glass of water, it didn't just go away. It filled his bladder quickly. And because George also has a mildly enlarged prostate, like many men over 60, his urethra, that little tube carrying urine out of the bladder, was already being gently squeezed. So when the bladder filled, it triggered the alarm bell in his brain. Wake up, time to go. But once George made it to the bathroom, it wasn't easy. The stream was weak, and he never felt quite empty. He'd lie back down, only to repeat the whole thing an hour later. This cycle didn't just rob him of sleep. It quietly inflamed his prostate, night after night. It was only after we made one simple change that things turned around. We didn't tell George to stop drinking water. We simply shifted when he drank. We introduced something I call the hydration taper. Here's how it works. George drinks most of his water earlier in the day, 75% of it by mid-afternoon. One last full glass with dinner around 6 p.m., and after 7 p.m., only small sips if he's really thirsty, just enough to wet the throat. No more bedtime flooding. The result? Within a week, George was sleeping through the night. Not just once, consistently. I remember him saying, voice thick with disbelief, "I thought my body was failing me. Turns out I was just giving it the wrong instructions." And friend, that's the key takeaway here. Your prostate isn't asking you to stop drinking water. It's simply asking you for peace, a quiet night, a break from the flood. Front-load your hydration. Let your kidneys and bladder rest when the lights go out. And if you ever feel a dry mouth at night, consider running a small bedroom humidifier or simply swish a bit of water and spit it out. The goal isn't thirst, the goal is balance. Because a full bladder is loud, but a calm prostate, it's silent. And silence, in the middle of the night, is what your body desperately needs. Now, what about what you're eating before bed? Because even if you hydrate perfectly, your dinner plate might still be setting you up for trouble. Let's talk about that next. Let me ask you something else, my friend. What did you have for dinner last night? Maybe it was something quick, a bowl of canned soup, a frozen lasagna, or maybe a sandwich with a few slices of deli meat. Nothing crazy, just something easy, comforting, and warm. Now let me ask you this. Did you wake up again to use the bathroom around 1 a.m.? Maybe again around 4? If you nodded yes, it might not have been your bladder's fault, or even your prostate's. It might have been your dinner. You see, salt, or more specifically sodium, has a sneaky way of staying in your system. And while it doesn't taste dangerous, it acts like a magnet inside your body, pulling water into your tissues, making them swell. Here's what most people don't know. When you eat a high-sodium meal in the evening, your body holds on to fluid like a sponge. It doesn't just sit in your legs or your ankles. It circulates and waits. And when do our bodies like to release that fluid? While we sleep. That's right. Your kidneys use the nighttime hours to process and flush out all that excess salt and water. And if your prostate is already enlarged, that sudden wave of urine production sends your bladder into overdrive, waking you again and again. But it's not just about peeing more. Salt doesn't just pull in water. It puts your whole body into a mild state of tension. Your circulatory system works harder. Your kidneys push overtime. Blood flow slows in your pelvic region. Inflammation simmers quietly. Your prostate, already sensitive, becomes even more inflamed. And that dull ache you feel in the morning, that heaviness, that's not just age, that's dinner. Let me tell you about Walter. He's a 74-year-old widower from Cleveland, Ohio. After his wife passed, he didn't cook much. Most nights he'd microwave a can of chili, maybe snack on some salty crackers or packaged cheese. He thought he was being practical, and to be honest, it helped him cope. But Walter kept waking up 3, sometimes 4 times a night, and even when he limited his evening water, nothing changed. He always felt this pressure in his lower belly, like something was pressing down from the inside. He told me, "I just assumed it was the way things go at my age." But once we took a closer look at his diet, the culprit became clear. We didn't do anything extreme. No calorie counting, no trendy diets. We just made dinner gentler. Instead of canned chili, Walter baked a sweet potato and paired it with grilled chicken breast. Instead of salty crackers, he reached for a small handful of unsalted almonds. On Sundays, he started preparing a big pot of low-sodium vegetable soup, something simple he could reheat during the week. And within 2 weeks, Walter went from waking up 4 times to once. He called me one morning and said, "The pressure's gone. I feel lighter. I didn't realize my dinner was weighing me down all night long." My friend, your prostate is more than just a gland. It's a barometer for what's happening in your whole body. And what you eat at night sets the tone for how well you rest. So tonight, think gentle. Lean proteins like fish or chicken, steamed vegetables, whole grains like brown rice or quinoa, season with garlic, oregano, or a pinch of turmeric.
herbs that support circulation and calm inflammation without spiking your sodium levels. Even a warm bowl of unsweetened oatmeal can soothe your body, nourish your gut, and help you feel full without the salty overload. Because you're not just feeding your hunger, you're feeding your healing. And speaking of healing, sometimes the damage doesn't come from what we eat or drink, but from what we ignore. There's one habit every man has done at least once: lying in bed, feeling the urge to pee, and deciding to hold it. Let's talk about that next.
There's a moment every man over 60 knows all too well. It's 2 a.m., the room is dark, the bed is warm. You feel it, a faint but familiar pressure in your lower belly, a gentle urge. But instead of rising, you tell yourself, it's not that bad, I can hold it. And so you roll over and try to fall back asleep. You might think it's just a minor decision, but over time, that small act of resistance becomes a heavy burden on your bladder and your prostate. Let me explain. Your bladder is a remarkable little organ, a muscular sac designed to stretch and expand as it fills with urine. But like any balloon, it has its limits. The longer you hold it, the more it stretches beyond what's comfortable. Now imagine doing this night after night, year after year. The walls of your bladder, especially the detrusor muscle, begin to weaken. Just like a rubber band that's been pulled too many times, it loses its snap. And here's where things get serious. That overly full bladder doesn't just push outward, it pushes downward too, directly onto the prostate. If you already have BPH, an enlarged prostate, that pressure only adds fuel to the fire. Inflammation grows, blood flow to the pelvic floor gets restricted, and when you finally do get up to urinate, you can't empty fully. Leftover urine stays behind, warm, stagnant, and vulnerable to bacteria. Over time, this can lead to urinary tract infections, chronic irritation, and that frustrating feeling of never quite being done. Let me share a story. Arthur, an 81-year-old former Marine from Jacksonville, Florida, once told me that getting up at night to pee felt like defeat. He believed it was mind over matter, that discipline meant staying in bed no matter what. But Arthur was also dealing with frequent infections, a weak stream, and constant morning bloating in his lower abdomen. I told him something I want to tell you now. Responding to your body's needs isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's not about surrendering, it's about maintaining the system. Just like Arthur once cleaned his rifle every night to keep it in top condition, he now treats his nighttime urges the same way. He made a simple rule. If I feel the urge, no matter how slight, I get up. No more debate, no more waiting. And you know what? Within weeks, his stream improved, the infections disappeared, and that tightness in his belly? Gone. He said to me, my body was sending me intelligence, and I finally started listening. So, here's your takeaway. Don't wait until it's urgent. Go when the urge first whispers. That's when your bladder is asking, not shouting. Make it easier on yourself. Keep a soft nightlight on, place your robe and slippers by the bed, and clear your path to the bathroom. Because when you respond early, you're not just protecting your bladder, you're giving your prostate space to rest, circulation to flow, and inflammation to ease. Sometimes healing isn't about what we do, it's about what we stop resisting. And while we're talking about pressure, did you know your sleeping physician might also be putting pressure on your prostate all night long without you even feeling it? Let's explore that next. Most of us don't give a second thought to the way we sleep. We lie down, close our eyes, and drift off. Maybe we curl up on our side, maybe flat on our back, or maybe, and this is more common than you think, we fall asleep on our stomach. But what if I told you that the way you position your body for those 6 to 8 hours each night could be quietly adding pressure to your prostate, the very organ we're trying to protect? Here's why. When you sleep on your stomach, your body weight shifts forward.
The organs in your abdomen, your liver, intestines, even the weight of your upper torso all begin to press down. And guess what's sitting right underneath? Your bladder and your prostate. This downward pressure might feel like nothing in the moment, but when that pressure is applied night after night, hour after hour, for months or even years, it adds up. It subtly compresses blood vessels, reduces circulation to the pelvic floor, and prevents your lymphatic system from clearing out waste products efficiently. The result? A sluggish, congested pelvic region, the perfect environment for inflammation to thrive. And you wake up feeling tight, heavy, maybe even with a dull ache in your lower belly that fades throughout the day but always seems to return by morning. That was the case for Tom, a 74-year-old retired mechanic from Idaho. Tom had dealt with prostate discomfort for years, but oddly, his worst symptoms were always in the morning. He wasn't drinking water late, he had cut down on salt, and he always emptied his bladder before bed. It wasn't until I asked him one simple question, "How do you sleep?" that things clicked. Tom had been a stomach sleeper for over 50 years. It was how he'd slept since childhood. He said, "It's the only way I feel safe, like my body finally relaxes." But sometimes, the way we've always done things isn't the way our body needs us to do them now. So we made a small, respectful shift. Tom didn't have to fight his instincts. Instead, he created what he lovingly called a pillow fortress. He placed a firm pillow between his knees to align his hips, hugged a second pillow to keep his shoulders from collapsing, and tucked a third behind his back to stop himself from rolling forward in his sleep. 2 weeks later, he called me with a tone I'll never forget. He said, "It's gone. The ache, the pressure. I didn't even realize how much weight I was putting on myself every night until I took it off." So here's your quiet invitation. Take a moment tonight to notice how you sleep. Try lying on your left side. It's been shown to improve circulation and reduce pressure on internal organs. If you prefer sleeping on your back, place a small pillow under your knees to take the strain off your lower spine and bladder. Because sleep isn't just about rest, it's about recovery. And your prostate deserves that just as much as the rest of you does. Now, before we wrap up this journey, there's one final habit to address. One so simple, so overlooked, that many men skip it night after night. And yet it may be the missing piece in reclaiming peaceful and uninterrupted sleep. Let's talk about that final, powerful moment before your head hits the pillow.
There's a moment at the end of the day when everything feels still. You've brushed your teeth, fluffed your pillow, maybe turned on a bedside lamp or reached for a book. Your body is winding down, and you're finally ready to surrender to sleep. And just as you're about to pull up the blanket, a tiny thought enters your mind. Do I need to go to the bathroom? But you hesitate. The urge isn't strong. You tell yourself, I'm fine. I'll go in the morning. And just like that, the opportunity is missed. What seems like a small decision, skipping that final trip to the toilet, can quietly cost you hours of rest. And over time, it can fuel a cycle of pressure, inflammation, and fatigue. Here's why. Even a partially full bladder creates a mild but steady pressure inside your pelvic region. That pressure doesn't stay isolated. It presses on your already sensitive, possibly enlarged prostate, keeping the area in a subtle state of alert. Your body, instead of powering down for repair, stays on standby, monitoring, adjusting, waiting. And if you fall asleep like that, you may wake up feeling like you never truly slept at all. Let me tell you about Michael. He's 69, lives in Phoenix, and told me he'd never made that last trip to the bathroom a priority. I didn't feel like I had to go, he shrugged, so I didn't. But Michael had been struggling with what he called slow starts. His mornings felt foggy, he'd wake up groggy, bloated, and frustrated. Even after a full night in bed, it was like he was running on empty. I suggested one small change. Make that final bathroom visit part of his nightly ritual. Not optional, not if I feel like it. Just like brushing his teeth, just like setting his alarm. And then I taught him a technique called double voiding. After he urinated as usual, I asked him to sit back down, take 3 slow breaths, lean forward just slightly, and try again. To his surprise, a little more came out every time. And that little extra made a big difference. After 2 weeks, Michael told me, I don't wake up groggy anymore. I feel lighter. And there's a calm down there that I haven't felt in years. You see, emptying your bladder isn't just about urgency. It's about completion. It sends your body a message. We're done for the day. It's time to rest. So tonight, I invite you to make this final step sacred. A small act of respect for your body. A chance to reset before rest. My friend, so many men quietly accept their discomfort as part of growing older. The constant waking, the slow mornings, the pressure, the unpredictability. We tell ourselves it's just how things are now. We learn to live around it. But here's what I need you to know. Your body is not broken. It's just tired of being pushed in the wrong direction. And it's been trying to tell you through every urge, every ache, every restless night. Tonight, you've heard it. You've learned that healing doesn't always come in the form of a prescription bottle. Sometimes it starts with a glass of water a little earlier, a lighter dinner, listening to the urge instead of fighting it, adjusting the way you sleep, or simply not skipping that last trip to the bathroom. Each of these habits may seem small, but together, like tiny streams feeding a river, they can create a powerful current of peace for your bladder, your prostate, and your sleep. So as you prepare for bed tonight, ask yourself, which habit will I change first? Leave your answer in the comments, just the number is enough. You never know who you might encourage just by sharing. And if something here helped you, if this felt like a conversation worth having, please give this video a like and subscribe for more wisdom like this. Because the journey through our later years doesn't have to be lonely or painful or silent. Not if we walk it together, with care, with knowledge, and with respect for the bodies we're still blessed to live in. Until next time, stay wise, stay healthy, and sleep deeply.